Forehand volley advice for recreational players, part 6. Keep the racket head up, keep the racket above the wrist, yeah? Keep the racket head above the handle. These are all things you will hear on social media.
Once again, racket head always above the handle, guys. Cock the wrist up.
Now, I have no problem that you keep the racket head up with higher contacts, because most of the time the height of the ball you will fix out of your arm. So if the contact is higher, yeah, your arm will go up more, and now you have a high racket. But the more you come down, the more the racket starts to go low. Now, if you can have in your volley that neutral position, yeah, if I let my hand here, this is my neutral position. So you will see I have about a 125, 130 degree angle here. Not that 90 degree angle that they ask you sometimes, but at 125. Now, if I have a low contact, yeah, and I do this, now my racket head is below my wrist, but I still have a very strong position. So, keeping the racket above the wrist, yeah, well, you will have it above the wrist if the contact, yeah, is higher than your hips, yeah. But once they start to go below the wrist, yeah, then it's no problem. But don't try to keep that racket above the handle, because this is where you have to start to go low and put yourself in another awkward position, where if you just do this, yeah, my racket is still in a very strong position. So keeping the racket head above the wrist, for me, not necessary. Even if I'm in that position and I do this, yeah, if I'm going to check now, I have about 130, which is still a strong position. So track it with the racket is also the part I have to go up here, yeah. It's not that it's really a 90 degree, it's still about a, let's say, 110. So track it with the racket will bring your racket automatically in a good position without even thinking, oh, I have to keep the racket head above my wrist. So I will play a few volleys where I'm going to put the racket head up or try to keep it above my wrist, and yeah, let's check them out. Part 6, keep the racket up, yeah, and keep the racket above the wrist is also something that you hear.
When you're hitting your volleys, you want to keep the racket head above your wrist and keep that wrist strong and firm. So if I get a low ball, I'm not going to drop the racket, I'm going to keep that wrist strong, I'm going to get down low, and that racket head is still going to be above my wrist.
Well, let's try it. Keep the racket up. See how much I have to bend here to be able to play with the racket up? Yeah. I don't say it's not possible, but it feels uncomfortable in my hand, and also I have to do a lot of job here. While again, if I track it with a racket, what's my racket? It's not above my wrist. If the ball is a little higher, it will be above my wrist. If the ball is higher and I track it, yes, my racket is above my wrist. If the ball is lower, my racket will be or half volley or will be below my wrist. Yeah. So I track it with the racket to the lower ball. Can you play the volley with the racket below the wrist? Of course. You track it with the racket and the racket will come automatically. If I have to play that low ball with the racket above my wrist or the racket up, low ball, yeah, that doesn't feel comfortable at all. Yeah, another one. So I'll keep the racket up. It's even hard to do, okay? So do you have to keep the racket up? No. Do you have to keep it in the angle? Absolutely not. Track it with the racket and the racket will come automatically in the right position. So let's go to the next one, which will be the stepping in.